Good morning, good morning. Grab a seat. You can sit by somebody you know, sit by somebody you don't know. Doesn't matter. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. Let me give you the quick overview for those of you that have not been before. 1 Million Cups is a weekly educational meeting of entrepreneurs and business owners. We'll have 2 startups speak today. Each startup will present for 6 minutes each. And then from there we'll do 20 minutes of question and answer with you guys. So pay attention on the 6 minutes so you can ask some really good singing questions and stun everybody who's speaking today. I'm just kidding. But honestly, the better we participate, the more engaged and interesting the conversation usually is. So we've got a good lineup today. All right, for those of you getting your coffee in the back, just keep getting the coffee. That's very important. All right, first company today, it's called Look Inside Tulsa. I'm going to let Jared share a little bit about that in a minute. Look Inside Tulsa, very high level, 30,000 foot level. They do customized Google Street View for local businesses. So literally they can come in and do panoramic footage in your space or your event space. And then when clients are looking and interested in your venue for an event or whatever they might be interested in, they can look through your custom photos and see all sorts of different panoramic views. He's been doing panoramic photos here in Oklahoma at this level, I think, for over 10 years. Is that right? And I think that's a pretty good while for something like this. So I'm going to give it over to you. Look Inside Tulsa. We have Jared. You welcome him. Give him a warm Tulsa welcome.
I'm super thankful to be speaking here. You guys are a really smart group of people. I've been coming a few times. I just admire the kinds of questions, what's coming from here. And just some of the people I know are just really brilliant minds. So I'm excited to get a chance to speak today. I'm going to share with you guys a little bit about Look Inside Tulsa, which is a new venture here in Oklahoma that's dedicated right now specifically to this one service from Google. This is a sample of what I do inside a business. But basically, I'm the tour designer and Google trusted photographer for Look Inside Tulsa. And the vision I'm going to share with you today is that basically Look Inside Tulsa publishes places. The key thing that we do is we take things that weren't publishable before, physical places that are in mobile, and we want to stick them inside tablets. We want to get them into people's hands, that information that wasn't available to share before. So I'm going to share a little story. This came from the president of one of our local chambers. Her husband was looking for a specific toy for Christmas. This was in Christmas 2012, and her husband got online, and being a guy, he gets on Google. So he wants to avoid a big box store. He knows the toy is at Toys R Us or something like that. But he wants to find something local in Tulsa. So he gets on Google, he just kind of pokes around, looks for something with a nice engaging photograph, and he finds this business, this little tiny toy store on Harvard called Fiddlesticks. He's never heard of it before. Driving by it, he wouldn't see much. But in the middle here of that screen, he sees this new photos to see inside. And all of a sudden, he's taken inside the business, and he can actually explore the business. He's never heard of this, he's never done this, but it's intuitive like Street View because it uses the same interface. So he can walk around, he can zoom in on objects, he can basically see what's going on. This program from Google is officially called Google Business Photos. It's not a very descriptive name, but that's the name of Google service that we provide here locally as a local provider. I'm not a Google employee, but I have been given some access to some Google employees, and I can help businesses kind of be that go-between between the local business and their problems with Google. So he finds what he's looking for, and basically he comes back and spends about $500 between what he buys and what he recommends to the rest of the family. So that business made a really good transaction off of having those photos online. This is what the business looks like on Street View. Would you drive across town in holiday traffic to go there? I wouldn't. I wouldn't even call it. I'd be like, no. But that's what the Street View image looked like when he was looking around for this. So what we do is we basically provide customized Google Street View. What's different from virtual tours? Huge differences. One is the walkthrough technology. To shoot, to design, to produce walkthrough technology is a huge leap forward and a huge step up in cost from a typical, what you're used to as a virtual tour. The second thing is custom URLs. Native to Google Maps is that every single viewpoint has its own customized URL that the business can share with people. You can tweet your bathroom. You can share merchandise, a sale. Hey, we've got a cool event going on here. Hey, let's show you what a Christmas event looks like here. Anything that can be seen on one of these tours can have its own URL, which can be shared by social media or anything like that. The third major difference is that it's hosted on Google. It shows up in Google search results. You could have the coolest tour ever. I could give you Star Trek's Holosuite, but it would only show up on the business's website unless it's hosted on Google. It comes from Google's program. So that's what we're really up to around here. What we want to do is we want to take what websites did 15 years ago, making information available and publishable. We want to take what wasn't publishable before and put that online and allow businesses to do that directly so that they can engage their audiences and people can grab the information that they're looking for. So what are some examples of what people are doing with this? Oklahoma Joe's Barbecue in Broken Arrow, they specifically wanted a tour to show people how their line works on a busy Saturday night. Dino's Tire and Wheel on Admiral, they have this huge warehouse of historic tires that nobody knows is there from the storefront. So they wanted to bring people inside to show people what they've got. This shot was taken from on top of a forklift, which was really cool. Google exhibit that. Pino's Palette on Cherry Street. They have this really cool service where people come in, they learn how to paint, they drink, they have fun, and they wanted to show people what that's like, because nobody's like, that sounds kind of weird. So Parent-Child Center just down on Boston Avenue, they provide awesome services to parents, and they want to make people more comfortable before coming in. I'm going to skip over to Custom Components and Logistics. Katusa is a metal fabrication company. They're a manufacturer. They want to show their customers who are all across the country what they're capable of doing. Boston Avenue Methodist Church, they have this historic building, but they want to get more visitors. They want to connect people to the congregation, not just to the building. So they want to show what the place looks like on a Sunday morning, so you can walk through it now on Google. And then finally, Oral Roberts University opened up a new building, the first new building in 30 years, and they wanted to show alumni who supported it what it's like to come there. And so what they wanted to do is at the big grand opening was to be able to tweet, hey, you're not in Tulsa, come join us anyway. You can walk through it with us on Google Street View. So these are a huge number of different kinds of uses that people intended for, but what people actually use it for is huge. Nobody knows what the customer is going to use it for, so there's just a lot of different uses. And the point that I want to make with this is that tours are not just something relegated to just the hotel industry. They're commissioned by anybody, they're for any use, and it's really a new medium. We need to start thinking of this as just like video, photography. You don't think of video only in one industry. You don't think of just video for business. You think of it as a medium for communicating information. And that's where we're headed with this. Online tours are a new medium that we want to master and explore and really bring here to Tulsa to help people. Our mission statement is we connect people and places to improve life. The opportunity is that tours are going to be as common as websites. Everyone's going to be walking through everything online. This is going to be information that consumers expect. And the real estate on Google is prime real estate for getting these tours found. So we're going to build a company around that, and we're super excited about it. We're going to complement what's going on locally with existing marketing agencies. And really, why is this important to me personally? I don't want to be involved with this unless...
Okay, time's up. Sorry to cut you off there, Jared.
Thank you.
Feel free to plan a question if you'd like. I'm going to pass it over to Baron. If you have any questions, just raise your hand.
As far as the technology component goes, like how much is that? Do you actually get from Google, and how much is off the shelf, and what does it take to actually produce one of those experiences?
Great question. Okay, so 2009, I left my full-time job to launch my own company with my own off-the-shelf technology, and I've been programming away and hammering away at this for several years. I've invented some cool stuff that isn't on the market yet. The downfall of Flash really hindered the approach that I was taking, and the ideas that I wanted to bring to the table aren't available yet in HTML5, so I'm kind of holding off on that. But most of the technology that you're seeing is Google's technology. They're taking something that was cost prohibitive, and by all the millions of dollars that they put into it at no cost to businesses or to me, they're basically making it cost effective for a regular business, foolish things, or even the BOK Center to be able to get something like this done.
So is the hardware you use off the shelf and you use Google software?
Yeah, most of the hardware, it's a standard DSLR camera, standard tripod. I use it in a different way than what a normal photographer would use it for. The tripod head is a bit specialized, and the lens is unusual in that it takes a 180-degree hemisphere all in one shot. So some of the equipment is somewhat specialized, but it's off the shelf. The processes and software are a bit weird. Software is Google. I also use non-Google software for other things we'll be bringing out later.
So what sort of pricing do you use, or pricing structure for each? I guess it's customized, but kind of talk about your pricing and your margin, or how you kind of figure that in to make sure you make money.
Yeah, that makes sense. Pricing, there are a lot of variations of the way this can be done. One example is, are we shooting a tour with people mulling around doing their normal day-to-day thing, or are we shooting an empty building? For me, it's a lot more complicated to shoot it with people, but it's hard to explain this to the market. I've talked to over 1,000 businesses about this, and what I find that's simplest for most people to understand is just to charge based on the size of the tour that they want published. So we charge not based on square footage, but based on the length of the walking path through that building. So I've done some really small places, I've done some large places, done a small tour for a large place. And so we basically only charge for the size of the tour that's published. A typical, just your standard size business, you think of this coffee shop, and you've got the coffee shop component and an event center component. There's options that I'll give the business owner, but around $1,000 for the all-inclusive service. Design, publishing, post-production, after publishing support.
It's called Inside Tulsa, but are you limiting it just to Tulsa, or do you have assets in other cities? Like, I'm in the wedding industry, and I'm leaving for Kansas City right after this. I have probably a dozen venues in Kansas City that I just started working with, another 30 down in Dallas, along with all the ones here in Tulsa. Is that something that you have assets there that would be able to duplicate the same technology, or are you just limiting to Tulsa?
Great question. Look Inside Tulsa is primarily focused on eastern Oklahoma right now. I'm open to starting a look inside OKC, a look inside Fayetteville, other areas, or even other places. But there's a lot to do on the ground here first. Currently, on the ground this week, assets are other Google photographers, ones who I've started to build a relationship with and trust in other markets. I know what I'm doing here, and I know what a quality photographer, what a quality provider looks like in another city. And so I can have that conversation with other photographers who follow the same training certification I have to be able to provide that good service. So the photographers, we've actually worked together a lot on a lot of national contracts and trying to get things going amongst each other. And so we've kind of figured that out. We've got systems to make it easier for businesses to use this service. So yeah, we can do things out of state. I'm officially allowed to provide this directly to any place in Oklahoma.
Okay.
Right.
You're limited to Oklahoma.
Right now, by Google, I'm limited to Oklahoma, except in special cases.
We gotta talk.
You basically get to talk through me. Yeah.
Are there other Google trusted photographers in the area, and how do you maintain a relationship with Google? I mean, if they say, hey, we're going to move in another direction, how does that impact your business?
Great question. Yeah, right now, Look Inside Tulsa is a very small company from a dollars and cents point of view. I've had this vision for years, and I'm going to keep going ahead with or without Google. I see the potential of it. I know what's going on, and I've been working on this. Google, right now, there are 3 other trusted photographers in the state of Oklahoma. So there are 4 of us total. There are about anywhere approximately 800 across North America. So there's about that many. That's about the size of who's certified to do this. Some of these are individual commercial photographers, and some of these are marketing agencies that are certified to provide the service. So those are the 2 types that are able to do this. Without Google, Google is changing things all the time. They're changing my thinking. I've visited Google headquarters and kind of got a little bit of a bird's eye view of what's coming up ahead. The photographers, we talk to each other a lot. I'm just a lot of my day is spent keeping in touch with what's going on in the future, So I'm seeing what's going down the road a year from now. And right now the going is good. I know what Google's interests are. So I'm lining up my interests with theirs, but I basically want to represent the local businesses to get the help that they need to deal with that giant. Google's doing their thing. They're going to do something that's awesome for people around this area, but there's more awesome that we can provide locally here. And that's where we want to step in.
So what about narration of the tours themselves? Is that something that you guys offer? And if so, how do you do that technically and mechanically?
Not now, but I want to. Right now, we can provide that technically, but the tour would have to only show up on the business's website. To show up on Google, it's got to be their software, their program, their service, and they don't offer narration. There are a lot of features that we're pounding up from the ground level. Hey, do this, do this, do this. Some are in the works, so there's some really exciting things coming up. Some of the multi-level tool came out through a request from photographers. Some features that are available now. We want to integrate this with Google Maps floor plans and other things that Google is up to. But as far as narration, I sincerely want to do narration, but we can only do that for a tour that's on the business's website. One solution we could offer is with the same photos, get a tour up on Google and get a tour on the website that has the narration and the full treatment to tell the story. Justin?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the narration idea. You should do that. So my question is, have you already, or when are you going to start using drones? Because that would be awesome.
Could you repeat that? When are we going to start using what?
Drones.
Drones, sweet. Google just bought a robotics company. They want to replace me. They haven't said what they want to do with it, but basically, one way to think of this is that Google currently crawls the web. You guys put up websites, and Google's got little automated crawlers crawling around the websites every once in a while to gather information and get it updated. They want to do that with the physical world. Right now, they're using human beings, but they will. They're probably heading that direction with cars that don't need drivers and with robots that can. You could order a robot to come in here and scan your place and get it up and update it. But Google wants up-to-date information about the real world and connect people to the real world. I want to connect people to the real world. So we're kind of have a similar mission there.
Are you going after anything bigger than just one offsite, going to, whether it's Brady Arts District Business Association, trying to do a deal with them where either they pay for half and their businesses? Have you identified any larger parties that would benefit from an entire neighborhood being done, trying to go on some way?
Yes. I've identified them. I've started building some relationships, but I haven't got a finished contract yet. Or finished. There's some negotiations, but there's nothing that is public or that's in the works. But I do want to work with some places that I do want to talk to are the business associations, Brady District, Decker District, then also downtown Tulsa, the committee that markets the entire downtown area. We want to talk to them. There's also Main Street associations, Main Street Jenks, Main Street Broken Arrow. These kind of areas are places that would benefit from a partnership with us so that we can be in better communication with all the businesses. Because they have the existing relationships with individual businesses. And not only that, can we just cover the individual businesses, but we could do some exciting things with sidewalks, with events like Mayfest, or things where we can actually show a downtown event or a Utica Square event on behalf of that organization. Some of these businesses associations too have their own Google Plus profile listing on Google Maps. And we can give them their own tour so that when people find downtown Tulsa or Brady Arts District or something like that, they have their own Google profile with an address, with an office, and they can show a tour of their district and market with that as well. So yeah, we want to get into that.
Hey Jared, Clarence Fisher, Tulsa IM. I love what you do. Has Google published any statistics on, because I see it as a reputation piece when people are Googling, say, a plumber, or maybe not a plumber, but a dentist, and the listing that has this, right? I can go in and see how clean it is, see the office, see, before I make my consultation. Have they published any stats on the clicks for that versus a listing that does not have this?
They have not released that. They're collecting them. They're also collecting analytics on the individual tours. As far as we know that they're collecting data on how many people are using the tour, how many nodes they're visiting, how long they're using it, but they haven't released any of that information to us or the businesses.
I was just curious to know if you have any pictures of what that looks like on Google's page to show that little button that says, click tour here.
Yeah, I zoomed through a lot of stuff here. One picture, well, this just shows a sample. This is a typical Google Plus profile, the right half of it. We interfere with the photos, putting on regular photos, publishing those directly, and then also that new See Inside link, which is the big photo. But the more exciting part is this. Let me show you Google search results. There's a better picture. This is an example of Green Acres Market. So you just Google them. Their photos, as soon as a profile shows up for a business, that typically shows their maps location and hours. Right now it's empty of photos, but after our service we'll put up that nice photo of the exterior and then also the new See Inside link. So this is where people see it when they're... Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, I'll admit it's not the biggest front and center. It's not the hugest thing, but it is bigger than a lot of what other things are able to be put on there. I ignore a lot of what goes on that right side personally, but a lot of people do use that. Now, for the hours, that brings up a good point, is that a lot of businesses I talk to, they're investing thousands of dollars into their website, which can be a good idea. I think everybody should have a website and use it effectively. But a lot of people are finding out about that business, and they just want the hours, they just want the phone number, just the address to put in their GPS or something. But when they're doing that, they're just going to Google, they're not even clicking through to the website. They're just seeing what's surfacing there. A lot of people are going to start engaging with these look inside tours before actually going to the business's website. So that's really where I want to stick with tours.
So you're saying documents in the picture area, like it has one picture?
Yeah, it actually adds a new picture. And if I connect my tablet up here, the neatest place where it shows up is on Google Maps. When you search for a place in Google Maps, it actually adds an entirely new large photo that wasn't there before. So you see the business's name, and then basically you see this huge photo that shows the inside of the business, and at the bottom it says "See Inside." And when anybody clicks that, they're taken inside just the normal Google Street View interface.
Last question. On that picture of the inside, do you have, when you're making a movie, you always have to make sure that actually you're seeing a main picture that actually click on the video. Is that same concept apply to the sport, like a picture of the
Yes. And actually, I let the clients pick that out. Some depending on the size of the job or the pickiness of the client, I'll give them options about how they want that initial view to appear on Google. And I'll actually show them a thumbnail. This is what it will look like on Google before we publish.
So it could just be a thumbnail that says, like just a text that says click tour or video tour or.
Oh yeah, we can. Google forbids us from photoshopping what shows up inside the tours. I actually don't want to because I want it to be a genuine, transparent view. But we could do some. I've talked to some clients about doing some neat things with signage on the day of the shoot to share some messages with searchers and with new customers to be able to get their message across. But yeah, you could stick a big new custom poster and start the tour right on that view to have a new image that otherwise wouldn't be able to get on Google.
Jared, I have a question about partners, and then also, like, for example, I have a client who they do luxury home remodels, right? And the big deal for them is when you come, they want to see their clients want to see everything in the house.
Yes.
Right? Have you started thinking in those directions as far as, it's not a public space, it's someone's house that they're about to move into, it's furnished, doing those sorts of tours, and do you have any partners in spaces like that?
I do not have partners in spaces like that right now. I really want to get into the residential real estate space, commercial real estate. Right now, we're not working in that space. Right now, Look Inside Tulsa is offering only this one service officially. I do a couple other things on the side as far as helping people with their correcting Google Maps issues and that kind of thing. And we just kind of do that at no cost. But for real estate, we really want to get into real estate. That'll be a whole new set of services that we'll be unleashing out in the future.
So I noticed most of your presentation is based around the coolness factor of this, which I have gone down that hole many times, geeking out about how cool something is, and then I go try to pitch it to someone, and they want to know how much money it's going to make them. And when you talked about Google Maps, I know there's some great statistics out there about people are ready to buy when they're looking at Google Maps versus a browser, and it's extremely powerful that you have a See Inside on there. Have you considered, or do you have access to more analytics to where you can put together a step-by-step pitch of likeliness to buy when searching on Google Maps, likeliness to click on it when there is more rich media there, any of those things where you can really show more leads and conversions, things like that to clients?
That is a great question. We've put a lot of thought into it. I've put a lot of thought into it. Some other photographers have put some thought into it. We've discussed this together. Some of us have done some studies. Some of us have done the research. We're getting together and doing that research. Long story short, the data is very hard to get. We know the word of mouth stories, and that's really what we've got to hang on to right now. The other thing too is that to be honest, there's a huge separation in this space right now between people who click and get it like, this is the biggest thing going on right now in the world, versus those who are like, yeah, that's kind of cool, like, I keep on going, getting haircuts. And so there's this huge difference between most people are just like, that's kind of a nice luxury. And really I want to make this, it's like an analogy to websites. There are a lot of people who are like, boy, websites are going to be huge. 20 years ago, like, what's a website? Why would a business need a website? Why would a soccer team need a website? And so people are thinking there's that difference between the innovators and then everybody else. Eventually, everybody's like, man, I've got to have a website. And that came several years later, and I think tours are the same way. Right now, people are honestly not very, very engaged. People in Oklahoma are not very engaged. The business owners, people here are entrepreneurial, they're open to new ideas, and so I'm not getting pushback that way. People see interest, like, man, I like this, I really like it. But right now, it's a luxury item. It's something that's nice when I've got time. people like the price point, but they're just kind of, yeah, when I got time, I'll go ahead and get around to that. And that's where it is right now, to be honest. So as far as hard data, it's really hard to get to the hard data. Right now, some people are doing some things where we're running through these tours with QR codes and being able to scan those links and do the analytics on that. Yeah, some of it's interesting, but it's not enough of a sample size to really get anything convincing to businesses. Really more of our time, since there's so many things we can do, more of our time seems to be more fruitful going in a different direction. And actually, I've only gotten requests for analytics from non-business owners. So who I want to sell to are people who are business owners, managers of physical places, event centers, the small local shops, especially here around downtown, all the new places going up. Talking to those people, they're not asking for analytics. They're basically asking, hey, how much time does it take? What does it cost? Can you do this at nighttime?
So using your $1,000 example for Foolish Things for a tour, what's the cost from Google to you for that? What's the margin structure look like for you in terms of profitability?
Google charges no money to the business or to the local provider. So Google does not make any revenue from Look Inside Tulsa or from the local business. Google hosts the tour for free for forever, for perpetuity. And so they're not making any revenue from it. They're not earning anything from it at all right now.
All right, Jared, over here. One last question. What can the community do for you and your company?
The biggest thing is I really just want to share what we're up to, and I want you guys to just think about right now, how can you use this in something that you're doing? I mean, it could be, you might not own a business, but you might be developing an app and you need this content. You might be writing about something. You might be marketing for someone else. How can you use this to help whatever your goals you're engaged in right now? I just want to have that conversation and hear your ideas. And the biggest thing too is just talk to people, talk to business owners, talk to managers, let them know that they can have this done, let them know what a benefit might be for their particular industry, and just kind of get people excited and just really connect with people. What I'm really looking for is exposure. And the second thing is I really want to meet people. I'm short a business partner. I'm short people who really want to carry this vision and see this happen in Tulsa and see something significant in this. And so I'd like to see, I'm working with some people. I love the people I'm working with. I don't have enough money right now to pay them full time, but I've got a team that started, and I'm just looking for anybody else who is interested in hopping in. I'd love to meet you.
All right, let's give Jared a hand. We've got just a few announcements this morning. Our very own company, Medify, who presented probably a few months back, are actually up for a potential, I think it's a grant or funding. So if you could go and vote for them at dreambigAmerica.us. They're actually on the front page. I went and voted yesterday. It's really easy. If you have a Facebook page, you can even just link it into your Facebook and vote for them. They could potentially get, I think, $20,000. Also, the Forge has an opening. I don't see Jessica Flint here, but we have some brochures on the back table. They're looking for company startups that are looking at having a co-working space, so they've got an opening. And lastly, TCC has an entrepreneurship course. You can apply for that at launchyourEjourney.com. You can apply for that until tomorrow. It's the last day they're doing that. And that's all I have for announcements this morning. I'm going to introduce our next speaker. His name is Ross Faith. He is the co-founder and VP of SpectrumFX, which is a fire suppression product to commercial airlines. So let's welcome Ross as he comes this morning.
Okay, thank you. Like Brad said, I work with Spectrum. I started this company with my father a few years ago, back to Oklahoma, full-time, a year and a half ago to do this, and we sell a fire suppression product to airlines. My dad wasn't able to be here this morning. He had minor surgery last week, but he's a pilot for American Airlines, and he sort of got the idea because he was a small investor in a company that developed a liquid agent that could put out very hot burning fires, and we licensed that agent to be able to sell to the airlines. So this first statistic is the number of battery-related incidents involving smoke, fire, extreme heat, or explosion between 91 and 92. So you may have heard about the Dreamliner problems last year. There was actually a story in the Wall Street Journal that this morning that Japan Airlines is having more problems with the battery pack. Lithium battery fires in particular burn very hot and have created serious problems for the commercial airline industry. This is a crash site from a cargo plane, UPS Flight 6, that went down over Dubai a few years ago. It was carrying a large pallet of lithium batteries. It hasn't been determined conclusively, but the NTSB and local UAE authorities surmised that the batteries caused the fire, or played a significant role in causing the plane to go down. And the airline didn't have a solution. So this is data from the FAA that suggests that the annual accident costs in millions of dollars is going to continue to increase through 2020. So it's a major problem, especially in cargo. The airlines don't have a solution, but even in the cabin, your laptops, your iPads, cell phones, these all contain lithium batteries, and these potentially create molten metal fires. That's what led the Royal Aeronautical Society in 2013 to say that we need a new agent. The existing solution is not effective enough. So since recently you've seen a lot of this in the news, but this is the existing procedure that the FAA suggests that flight attendants use to put out a fire in the cabin. Halon is a gas-based agent. It's potentially toxic to human beings. It's also not very effective at putting out these kind of fires, and it doesn't cool them. So they have you use halon, which are these extinguishers that are on the planes now, to knock out the flame and follow that with a non-alcoholic liquid. Now this could include anything from water to coffee to Coke. So just imagine there's a fire at 30,000 feet, and you've got panicked flight attendants using a halon extinguisher and then throwing Coke and a bottle of water and whatever they have available to them to put out the fire. It's not a pretty sight. So we developed the Life Kit, which includes 2 bottles of this product. It's a liquid D-grade agent. D is the classification of fire. It's a molten metal fire, so lithium, magnesium. These are fires that burn over 1,000 degrees Celsius. And they're potentially very explosive too. Another attribute of, so basically how it would be used is essentially to replace water or coffee or whatever in the second part of the procedure. Probably skip over this video. We have a couple of different videos on the website. One of them is of a guy putting out, it's taking an 1800-degree blowtorch and putting it on his hand. I've tried this experiment live and I won't do that again. Kids saw that. My dad does it a lot better than I do, and he's the operational guy and knows what he's doing when it comes to these sorts of things. The product is very strong. It's a very effective agent. So there's basically 3 areas where we think we're competitive on. One is it's much more effective at putting out these types of fires. It's rated to put out these types of fires. It's been sold to the steel industry to put out large slag pots of steel that create explosive fires. It's non-toxic. It's been EPA qualified. It's safe for people in the environment. And it's not reactive. If you've ever seen water being sprayed onto a reactive metal fire, it really creates a situation that's worse than the fire itself a lot of times. And even in small doses, you can throwing water on lithium batteries can potentially create the same sorts of reactivity issues. So again, my name is Ross, and I'm the co-founder and VP of Spectrum. Any questions?
Ross, could you talk about why it sounds like there's a lot of applications for Spectrum, and so why specifically the airline industry, and are you looking at other industries?
That's a good question. I mean, the short answer is that's where we had the most knowledge, but the threat for airlines is also more intense, and the customers are willing to pay higher price premium for the level of safety, because if you have a lithium battery fire at 30,000 feet, you can't just leave the area. And so fire in the aviation context is extreme danger. And in particular, if you look on the internet, basically all of the testing and a lot of the research that's been done about lithium battery fires over the last 10 or 15 years has been done in the airline industry because the intensity of the threat in the airline industry. So that's where we started there. There are other places that we could go, but we're trying to stay focused at the moment on this one.
One thing about that, I think offshore shipping is the same things will apply. But my question is about the distribution. Do you have a distribution mechanical device for the entire plane or segment that? How do you do that other than?
Well, right now, that's the only distribution mechanism that we have is the bottle. We could develop a system for, let's say, the engine compartment or the cargo compartment, and those are some developments that we're working on. But we decided to start out here. The regulatory process in the airlines is extensive, and this was actually the approach that one of our early customers recommended to get this on board the quickest.
Yeah, that answered my question. I saw you present maybe a year ago at South by Southwest.
Oh, okay.
Your branding has come a long ways, everything looks really good. And that's what I was wondering is how, when you were there wasn't anything about the bottle. So I was kind of wanting to know what insight led you to selling it that way versus just an agent that they put in the current fire systems, and then also kind of how you're pricing it, and who ultimately you're selling it to.
So the end customer, to answer your last question first, is our airlines. We've sold to a couple of airlines already. We're in conversations with a large domestic carrier. We kind of co-developed the product with a large domestic carrier because, there's a whole lot of things that go into these considerations. One is regulatory. What's the easiest, most palatable way to get this on board? Two is just ease of use, and for the flight attendants, this delivery mechanism seemed easier than some of the other alternatives we had explored. And you asked the third question. Did that answer your questions? Okay.
Which airlines specifically are carrying this product?
Right now, Cathay Pacific, which is a carrier, one world partner carrier out of Hong Kong, and then a smaller regional carrier in the U.S.
Do you manufacture this product yourself, or do you have like a chemical company produce it?
Yeah, it's neither one of us are operations experts, but and you would think this is a very simple process. It involves more steps than you would think. The agent itself is manufactured by the company that owns the intellectual property and created the product. The bottles, the caps, the box, those are all made by various different suppliers, mostly around the state, and assembled in the state by another company out of Enid.
Oh, you're next. Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you currently in conversation with Omni Air International here in Tulsa?
Their customer. That was, I didn't know if anyone would know. People in Tulsa probably knew to Omni that they were in the aerospace business, but yeah, that's the other customer.
The other question I have is, I'm getting on a plane Monday to fly to Newark, and American Airlines, can I get like a passenger carry-on? You got me scared now.
Well, we certainly wouldn't intend for that to scare you. We don't sell passenger level products just yet. Right. It's gonna be so you can fit it into that box. Yeah, sorry. Yes.
Do you have any reports or incidents that have actually happened in real time in flight that that they've had the opportunity to use your product and it's been successful?
No, not yet. The product's only been on board Cathay's planes for a little around a year. And thankfully, nothing has happened. I mean, the incidents of these things happening, even though we showed you statistics, air travel is still one of the most safe forms of transportation that you can use. And those statistics, while they are scary, because any airplane crash is scary, they don't reflect the incidents rate. There have been other incidents that haven't been widely reported involving planes that didn't have a product on board. Thankfully, there have not been, to my knowledge, crashes recently.
Is there a regulatory path that you're taking to, like with the FAA, that would require your product on board?
It's a very circuitous one, at best, I would say. I wouldn't call it a path. It's been a constant back and forth with them and with some of our commercial airline partners. Honestly, I've learned more about regulation than I have about product development in the last 6 months. And, it's just it's not a logical sort of step-by-step process. You're working with real people, you're negotiating about safety, everybody's concerned about different aspects of the process. A lot of it's just being able to communicate well and explain yourself.
Have you looked into, I could see this as a replacement for fire extinguishers in home kitchens, and have you looked into selling at home improvement stores, and would you be able to handle a huge order at this point, or what would it take to be able to handle an enormous order?
We could handle an order, pretty much any size in the airline industry. If Home Depot came and said we want 1 million of your life kits, that would require a little lead time. I think the difficulty with this is that with the products is there seems like there's so much opportunity, and there is. But once you go into new industries, especially in the fire suppression industry, there's a whole bunch of new regulations. You've got to develop a product specific to that industry and those regulations. We're exploring those things. I think that's our next step after we've really tackled this industry, is to focus on what's the next vertical that we want to go after.
I kind of answered my question already, but I just had a thought. Have you looked at talking to any manufacturers, for example, like Tesla Motors had a big PR stuff, one of their cars exploded because of the battery overheating. And so companies like Tesla, or maybe even some larger tech companies like HP.
Yeah, we actually have tried to contact Tesla. So if anyone has contacts at Tesla, that would be helpful. But and a lot of times what happens is there's a crisis. Like Tesla's had a crisis with their battery packs, and so then that seems like an opportunity. And a lot of times the people that are in the middle of a crisis like that don't want to acknowledge that they need a better fire suppression agent, right? Because their batteries are blowing up, so they've got to fix that first. But if anybody, that would be like one area where the community develops, I suppose. And so if there are other manufacturers or industries that you think would be useful, you have contacts in that area.
Maybe another suggestion, if you haven't approached them already, is the charter. Even though you've got your FAA approval, but to go to like the private charters and like NetJets and some of those others where safety is huge and people make decisions to use it based on that. Have you talked to them yet?
Yeah, our supplier has worked with the company that owns the intellectual property. They've worked with Beechcraft, and that's sort of on the manufacturer side, so not aftermarket stuff that you can sell to individual airplanes. But that's a market. It's a much smaller market than you would think compared to commercial aviation. Commercial aviation is really a fairly robust and big market. So reaching those customers is, I think, one of the challenges. There's a couple of industry trade shows throughout the year where a lot of them are there. That if we wanted to focus on that, we would. Again, it's just a question of focus and where we put our energy.
So from what you've said and what you've shown, the bottle looks just like a bottle.
Like a shampoo bottle, yeah.
So you're taking the stuff that somebody else owns intellectual property doing, putting it on and selling it. Do you have exclusivity agreements with the manufacturer, or how else are you protecting yourself from competition? Because it sounds like you're creating the market.
Right.
And it'd be easy for somebody to come in.
Sure. Yeah, that's a very, very big function for our business. And we do have, you can call it exclusivity. We have protection in the commercial aviation market in our contract with our supplier. As far as competition from, do you mean competition from other products or from other distributors or from the manufacturer themselves? Or?
Well, it could be from all the above.
Yeah.
It seems that you don't really want the property for the agent, and there's no specific intellectual property around the delivery mechanism. I'm just interested in the strategy.
Yeah, they have a patent on the agent itself, and we have nothing 100% ironclad, but we've had enough for the last 2 years to build our business around.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, you might have answered that, but who are your competitors, or are you fighting more against the process of getting in than having to compete with anybody else, or is it?
Well, and I think those two may be related to each other. Halon is the major competitor in the airline business, and we're kind of sidestepping directly competing with Halon because we're replacing water in the procedure. To be honest, we don't know everything about why the regulatory processes work the way it is. We know that Kidda and a handful of other manufacturers, of Halon have played a big role in shaping the regulation. So getting into the industry, it involves regulations that have been shaped by people who sit on trade groups and so forth. And I'm not saying that there's any kind of a conspiracy or anything, it's just these people are the industry experts and they've been involved with the industry for 20 years. And when you're in a regulated industry, competition is difficult. I mean, they've been trying to replace Halon for over 20 years. And they're still. I mean, our product can't extinguish the fire. We needed to avoid having to try to replace Halon in the procedure because Halon is a gas-based agent and we're a liquid-based agent, and there's a test for being a C-rated agent, which is electrical fires, that you have to pass. You can't be conductive of electricity. And since it's a water-based agent, we really can't get to that test. But we can supplement Halon in a lot of other applications where there's no electrical fire involved. If you've got a battery that's on fire, I don't think you're going to be worried about conductivity. You're worried about extinguishing the fire.
So, how safe is the product for people? Besides putting out fires, obviously, are there any problems with getting it on your skin or inhaling fumes from it? Or?
No, there are really no off gases or fumes. And I mean, I don't know that we've had wide-scale tests of just drinking the liquid or anything like that. But my dad always says that the worst thing that can happen is that you get gas from ingesting it. It's been qualified by the EPA as non-toxic, so non-toxic means that it's safe for people in the environment. And the main thing with Halon, that the reason why the airlines and others are trying to get rid of it is because it's ozone depleting, and our product is not ozone depleting.
Considered selling this like small, what are they called, the little planes type of things. I have a friend that was almost killed by a burn, pressure burn situation, and then I was also in a small airline crash that was, just a really small plane. But I know in these airports where they have those coming in and out, I mean, is that something that would be potentially helpful, or even a market for, those that have more instances of
Smaller aircraft?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have. I think that we would consider it. Again, we have a sales organization that is 2 people right now, and they are also the co-founders. So getting boots on the ground is a problem at the moment, and the commercial airlines are higher margin probably, and certainly higher volume accounts. So until we can get to the point where we can either find channel partners or develop an organic sales force, we will probably pursue those directly. If they come to us, of course, I think that the product would work great for a small aircraft, just as it would work great for commercial aircraft. My father has pilot friends who want one of these kits for their private domain just as well as they want this in commercial.
On the channel partner question, your organic sales team, have you figured out which one is going to be the best route for you to take? I mean, the channel partner is going to give you exclusivity with different programs, and you have to develop that internally.
Yeah, I mean, for right now, I mean, my father's the chief salesperson too, and he's a pilot. He's got a certain level of credibility going into industry conferences and trade shows, talking with global decision makers. So, especially for the domestic accounts, you know, how many airlines are there in the U.S.? There's not that many. There's not that many accounts. So we'll probably pursue a direct sales approach with at least the domestic airlines. We're finding as we expand internationally that in certain places we just can't even do business without having, you know, someone from a local country to be representative. So, you know, I don't know if you call this channel partners or sales reps or distributors or whatever, but we're working on that. But we're focused on contacts in the U.S. at the moment.
Not to beat a dead horse to death about the smaller clients, but just in case there is some connection, is there a minimum order amount? I mean, if somebody came and I want, 10 of these, do you have any, are those any constraints on the quantity?
No, the advantage to our company is we don't have a lot of bureaucratic process in place, so we're certainly not going to have minimum order quantities or anything like that. I mean, if you came to us today and you wanted a kit, we can tell you.
Ross, I fly on a lot of African airlines, and these guys are always making a plan rather than fixing the battery that just have something to put out the fire. Is that something you're interested in, going into some of these smaller regional, multinational government-owned airplane, airline companies?
We're certainly interested in it. We haven't been contacted that I'm aware of by any African airlines directly.
Okay, then I'll email you.
Okay, good. You may know something great.
I'm coming to you.
So as far as the regulations go for what's it, Helen, the gas leaders now. So what kind of resources are you finding to kind of battle that the industry trying to change the regulations there?
Well, other than lawyers, to be honest, like we have a former FAA official who's a very high up person at the FAA who works with us as a consultant. A lot of times it's just a matter of having somebody who talks their language, who can talk to them in a way that industry speak. So that's part of it. We don't have a lobbying organization. We're not too focused on it. We're getting past some of the issues that we've been working on over the last year. So it's just been a gradual process of give and take. You learn certain ways of talking, certain approaches work better than others. But the big guys, they have lobbying, organizations and all that.
What is the retail cost for one 2-pack box?
Okay, we have a flight deck kit, which is just one, and then we have a cabin kit, which is 2, and it retails for around $325.
What are your profit margins on this? Because you said this is somebody else's agent that you guys are using.
It's varied. We went to customers, so we don't really have a good enough representative sample to say. And, we negotiated different arrangements with different customers.
Have you looked into being able to put this into a fire extinguisher? And also, I don't know the molecular structure of it, but is it something that you can produce in a gas to be able to go battle the Halon or whatever?
Yeah, gas I don't think so, it's liquid, but there are streaming and foaming and potentially misting applications that are all being developed. We have looked into putting it into an extinguisher. The reason we went with the bottle before the extinguisher is because the extinguisher may take 5 years to get approved. I mean, hopefully it wouldn't take that long. Just knowing how the process has worked so far. Getting an extinguisher means you have to get a UL listing, you have to do a lot of testing on it, and you have to get a regulatory certification or approval. That might in and of itself take a year. We wanted to get a product on board.
Ross, we're going to kind of ask the question. What can the community do for you and Spectrum?
Well, I think that the questions, a lot of people have been asking questions about different industry verticals, and I think one of the things that, frankly, our suppliers struggle with that we've tried to do is to stay focused, but we're always open to new opportunities. If you have a really good contact or a customer that you think this product would be really a great fit for, inside or outside the commercial aviation business, please feel free to drop us a line.
All right, guys, let's give Ross a hand. This concludes our 1 million cups for Wednesday. We will return again next Wednesday at 9 o'clock, same location, with two more companies. So you guys have a great day.